Imagine a night train that isn't on the timetable. It only arrives after the last regular train has gone, on nights when you're too exhausted to go home. Tonight it pulls in just for you. Warm windows, a sleepy conductor, and a slow coastal journey toward a harbor town where no one asks questions and the only thing you're expected to do is finally fall asleep. The platform is almost empty when you arrive. Night has folded itself around the small station, leaving only a few pools of yellow light under the lamps. The air smells of cold metal and distant sea salt. Somewhere out on the dark tracks, a low hum grows, like a sigh drawing nearer, promising a train that belongs only to the hours when most people are asleep. You're not in a hurry anymore. The worst of the day has already happened, and it's behind you. What's left is only the quiet heaviness in your shoulders and the tired ache behind your eyes. You stand with your bag at your feet, feeling the chill through your shoes, watching the dark line of the horizon where the land ends and the coast begins. The first sign of the train is a pair of lights. Far down the tracks, two small, distant stars appear and brighten, gliding toward you with slow certainty. As they grow larger, you begin to hear the gentle clatter of wheels, the muted rush of air before the engine shape emerges. It isn't a modern silver blur, it's an older, softer train, with rounded edges and warm, glowing windows. When it finally pulls in, it doesn't screech. The brakes murmur. The carriages breathe out a sigh of steam that hangs in the lamplight like a pale ghost. Behind each pane of glass you glimpse little table lamps, curtains, silhouettes leaning back against headrests. This is not a train meant for racing. It is a train built for carrying people through the night, slowly, towards somewhere quieter. Above your head, the station speakers crackle once. A calm voice announces the route, overnight coastal service to the harbor town, stopping at forgotten villages and sleepy platforms along the sea. The words float over you like a lullaby written in the language of timetables and tracks. You pick up your bag. The doors of the nearest carriage sigh open. Warmth breathes out into the cold platform air. You step up into it and are met by soft light and the faint smell of old upholstery, polished wood, and tea. The corridor is narrow but kind, lined with windows on one side and compartment doors on the other. The floor gives a small, springy creak under your weight, like it remembers every traveler who walked here before you. For a moment you simply stand in the doorway. You listen to the muffled sounds of people settling in, a suitcase being lifted onto a rack, a coat rustling off weathered shoulders, a low, distant cough. Somewhere farther down, someone laughs once, quietly, and then falls silent. The train feels like a long, inhabited sigh, already halfway to sleep. Your ticket crinkles softly in your hand. You glance at the number printed there and move down the corridor, feeling the train's faint, waiting stillness. The door handles gleam where countless hands have polished them smooth. On the glass of each compartment a small brass frame holds an etched number. When you find yours, the door stands slightly ajar, as if expecting you. You slide it open with a gentle push. Inside, the compartment is small but inviting. Two wide seats facing one another, upholstered in deep blue that's a little faded where countless heads have rested. A narrow table sits between them under the window, holding a tiny lamp with a soft amber shade. Above, a luggage rack waits, its metal bars humming faintly with the memory of motion. You set your bag down by the seat. The cushion gives under your hand, and you feel how many people have sat here, sinking into the same rectangle of softness and watching the same moving darkness outside. The air is warmer here than on the platform, warmed by bodies and the slow, steady radiators that run under the windows. Outside, the station lights reflect in the glass. For now you see more of your own face than the night, your tired eyes, your hair flattened by the day, the curve of your shoulders. Behind that, the faint outline of the platform, the lamps, the rails stretching away. Soon, you know, all of this will blur into motion and vanish behind you. There is a soft knock at the open door. You turn to see the conductor in the doorway, cap slightly askew, uniform neat but not severe. Their face is lined in the way faces get when they've spent many years staying up late so other people can sleep. In their hands they hold a small clipboard and a ticket punch that clicks softly as it opens and closes. "Good evening," they say, voice low and gentle. "Harbour Town?" You nod and hand over your ticket. Their fingers brush yours as they take it, solid and warm. They glance at the printed words, then at you, and their mouth curves in a small, knowing smile. "Long day?" they ask, not prying, only acknowledging the exhaustion that clings to you like a second coat. You manage a quiet yes. They nod as if they'd already expected that answer. The ticket punch clicks twice, a tiny metallic heartbeat, and your ticket is returned with 2 neat half-moons in its edge. "You're in the right place then," they say. This train likes tired people. It knows what to do with them. They glance at the small table. "If you'd like tea or something warm later," they add, "there's a service car just down the corridor. But I'll be coming around with the kettle before we turn off most of the lights." Their words feel like an old ritual, spoken to countless travelers, but they are offered to you as if you're the first. The conductor steps back into the corridor. "We'll be leaving in a moment," they say. "Once we're moving, just let the rails do the worrying." They give a small, respectful nod and close the door until it's almost shut, leaving it just the slightest crack open, in case you decide you want air or conversation. The train gives a tiny shiver. Somewhere far ahead, the engine stirs, metal answering metal in a barely audible clink. The lamps above your head flicker once and then steady. From the platform comes a single, distant whistle, stretched thin in the night, the old sound of departure wrapped in a modern echo. You feel the first, hesitant tug. It's like a breath being drawn into a sleeping chest. The station outside the window begins to move, very slowly, backwards. The lampposts slide past. The painted bench, the trash bin, the map on the wall with its web of lines, each one drifts away, as if being gently erased from view. The platform rolls by and falls behind. You watch the last slice of yellow light tilt and shrink until it's only a memory in the glass. Beyond it, darkness opens, wide and waiting. The train gathers confidence beneath you, the vibration smoothing into a steady, humming glide. The sound of the rails grows into a soft, repetitive song. Inside the compartment, the lamp glows steadily. Its light pools on the table tarp, on the curve of your hands, on the fold of your sleeve. It leaves the corners of the compartment in a gentle shadow, enough to hide the tired corners of your mind. Outside the window, the world has become a layered blur of black and deeper black, with occasional, fleeting shapes. You sit back against the seat. The cushion receives your weight with a quiet exhale. The rhythm of the train settles into your bones, the faint sway left and right, the subtle lift over each join in the rails, the low, endless murmur underneath, like someone whispering the same kind sentence over and over in a language you don't need to translate. After a few minutes, your breathing begins to match it. The inhale stretches slightly to fit the distance between one rail joint and the next. The exhale flows out over the long, humming intervals. The day's thoughts, still noisy, begin to lag behind, tripping over the steady rhythm until they fall further and further away. Outside, the first faint hints of the coast appear. At first, it's only a change in the darkness, the way one side of the horizon seems to fall away into a deeper shadow. Then, as your eyes adjust, you catch occasional glints of light on water, a broken chain of reflections from far-off ships or lonely buoys, rocking gently on the waves. You crack the window open a small fraction. Cold air slides in, thin and salty, carrying the distant smell of seaweed, wet stone, and something metallic and vast. It mixes with the warm smell of the compartment, the fabric, and wooden tea, creating a new scent that sits somewhere between departure and arrival, between land and open water. Far ahead, the train's horn sounds once. The note is long but not loud, echoing across the invisible fields and empty roads. It's less a warning than a greeting, a low hello spoken to anyone still awake out here, to a fisherman finishing his nets, to a lighthouse keeper pouring one last cup of coffee, to the sea itself turning in its sleep. The corridor outside your door comes briefly alive. Footsteps pass, their hollow thumps softened by carpet. Someone drags a suitcase with wheels murmuring over the floor. The distant click of another compartment door opening and closing reaches you like punctuation in a long, quiet sentence. Then the sounds thin again, leaving only the rails. You decide to explore for a moment. Standing, you feel the gentle sway a little more clearly, the subtle pull of curves and gradients guiding your balance. You slide the compartment door open, stepping into the corridor. Here the lamps are dimmer, casting a soft, amber fog over the long, narrow space. Through the windows on your right, the night stretches outward. Occasional lights mark small houses or distant farms. Sometimes the train passes under a bridge, and the world outside vanishes in a brief tunnel of concrete before reappearing like a held breath released. Closer to the coast, you glimpse the faint, silver stroke of waves along a dark shore. You make your way toward the service car. As you walk, you pass other compartments, some with curtains drawn and lights off, just silhouettes resting against the glass, others with lamps still burning, faces lit in quiet conversation or bent over books. No one speaks loudly. Even the whispers seem to respect the hour, moving gently between the walls. The door to the service car slides open with a soft hiss. Inside, a small counter waits, with shelves behind it holding cups, teapots, and a modest selection of late-night comforts, biscuits, small sandwiches, chocolate wrapped in gold paper. A large metal kettle rests on a warmer, steam rising from its spout in slow, thoughtful ribbons. The conductor stands behind the counter now. Their cap is hung on a hook, hair a little mussed. They look up as you enter, and their expression softens in recognition. "Tea?" they ask, already reaching for a clean cup. Their voice matches the train, steady, a little worn at the edges, but kind. "Yes, please," you say. The word comes out softer than you intended, as if the night has cushioned even your speech. The conductor smiles and tips the kettle, the tea pouring out in a smooth amber line. The scent of black tea and something herbal rises, wrapping itself around your tired thoughts like a shawl. They set the cup on the counter. "First time on this route?" they ask, not out of nosiness but the way someone asks if you've tried a favorite song before they press play. You nod. They seem pleased. "It's a good one for people who need to rest," they say. "The rails know the way to the harbour town so well, we could all fall asleep and they'd still carry us there." You wrap your hands around the cup. The warmth seeps into your fingers, up your arms, into the cold corners of your chest. "What's it like?" you ask. "The harbour town?" The conductor leans back against the counter, considering. The train hums beneath you both, patient and listening. "It's the kind of place that keeps its lights low," they say. Houses close together, roofs leaning toward one another like old friends. Boats that creak gently against their moorings. A harbour that never really sleeps, but never really wakes up either. People come and go quietly. No one asks too many questions about where you've been. They glance out the small window. At night, you can hear the masts singing, they add. The wind threads through them and pulls out notes you don't hear anywhere else. Sometimes, when we get there just before dawn, the whole water is the color of bruised peaches, and the gulls haven't started shouting yet. It's gentle. You sip the tea and imagine it. Narrow streets climbing up from the water. Windows glowing like eyes half closed in drowsy contentment. The smell of salt, fish, bread baking in ovens before most people are awake. A place where arrivals are quiet and departures slower still, where no one expects you to be anything but weary for a while. The conductor watches your expression soften. Most people come on this train because they're carrying too much, they say. Too many thoughts, too many demands, too many little emergencies. The harbour town doesn't need any of that. It only asks that you breathe with the tide for a bit and remember what your own footsteps sound like. You let the tea sit on your tongue. The taste is simple but steady, with a sweetness that doesn't announce itself, just lingers. Do you ever get off there? You ask. The conductor's smile changes, growing a shade more private. Sometimes, they admit. On mornings when I've had enough of the rails talking back. They straightens, taking your empty cup. But tonight, they say, we'll do what this train does best. We'll rock you there in your sleep. When you open your eyes, The gulls will be grumbling and the air will smell like salt and bread. You won't notice how many bridges we crossed to get you there. You thank them and step back into the corridor. As the door slides shut behind you, the low murmur of the service car fades, replaced again by the steady, hypnotic rhythm of the wheels. You walk slowly back toward your compartment, the tea warm in your stomach, the conductor's words folding themselves into images in your mind. The corridor is emptier now. Many of the compartment lamps have been turned off. Curtains hang, opaque and still, turning lives into silhouettes. In one, you see the shape of someone curled up with a book. In another, two heads bent close in tired conversation. In most, there is only the soft rise and fall of sleeping shoulders. You reach your door and slide it open. The compartment greets you like a small, familiar room in a house you're just beginning to know. The lamp glows quietly over the table. The seat waits with the same gentle dip. Outside the window, the night has changed. You can see more of the sea now, a dark, breathing presence beside the tracks. You sit down and let yourself just look. Every so often, a cluster of lights marks a village or a solitary house perched on the shore. Sometimes you glimpse the faint skeleton of a pier, stretching its black fingers into the water. Occasionally, a distant lighthouse turns its slow, revolving eye, sending out a measured beam that brushes over the train like a blessing. The sound of the rails has deepened. Out here, away from the city, the clatter has become a softer pattern, cushioned by distance. It's no longer a series of sharp impacts, but a low, continuous rush with a regular, almost heartbeat-like bump under it. Your body starts to read it as lullaby, your bones as rocking cradle. You shift, stretching your legs onto the opposite seat. The upholstery accepts them, the slight scratchiness of the fabric comforting in its honesty. You lean your head against the cool glass for a moment, feeling the vibration there more directly. It buzzes gently through your skull, scattering the last restless fragments of thought. The conductor passes once more outside your door. This time, they tap lightly on the glass rather than opening it. When you look up, they gesture toward the lamp and mime turning a switch, eyebrows raised in a silent question. You nod. They smile and move on, dimming lights along the carriage in a practiced, unhurried sequence. You reach up and lower the brightness of your own lamp. The compartment slips into a softer half-dark, lit just enough that you can see your hands and the curve of the table, but not enough to harshen any lines. The window becomes more of a mirror now, reflecting a ghost of your face over the ghost of parsing fields and coastline. In this near dark, time loosens. Minutes stop marching and start drifting. You feel each breath more distinctly. The inhale lifts your chest, the exhale lays it down again. Outside, the scenery has slowed, or perhaps it's only your attention that has released its grip, no longer trying to catalogue every passing tree and fence. The train veers closer to the sea. You sense the curve before you see it, the way your body leans very slightly inward. Then the view shifts, and the water is suddenly right there, close and wide. The moon, hidden before, presses its blurred reflection onto the waves, turning strips of the black surface into shifting silver. You crack the window open again, just a little. This time the sea smell is stronger, wrapping itself around you with cool, damp hands. You can hear the faint hush of waves against rocks, the occasional sharper slap of water under some unseen pier. The sound merges with the rails, two different patterns weaving together into one. Your eyes grow heavier. The lines of the compartment blur at their edges. The lamp's circle of light softens. Thoughts become less like sentences and more like fragments of images. A rope coiled on a dock, a gull standing sleepy on one leg, a cup of coffee steaming in cold morning air. You let the images drift. You don't chase them or hold them. You just watch them appear and fade, like scenery outside another window, a window in your mind this time. The late-night train knows its work, and your only job now is to trust it, to sit here and be carried, the way the boats in the harbor will later be carried by the tide. Somewhere ahead, a bell rings faintly. The train slows just a little, the rhythm of the tracks stretching. You pass a tiny station, barely more than a platform and a hut. For a moment you see a single lamp and a single figure in a long coat, waiting patiently for the train to pass. Then they are gone, swallowed back into the night. You close your eyes for a heartbeat. The darkness behind them is softer than the one outside the window, flecked with after images of lamps and stars. You hear the wheels, the rails, the almost breath of the carriage. You could open your eyes again, but you find you don't really want to. The world right now is more about sound than sight. The train's sway rocks your head slightly. Each tiny motion nudges you further away from wakefulness. Your hands, resting in your lap, feel heavy and warm. Your feet, still on the seat, feel far away, as if they belong to someone else. Your thoughts are slower, like people walking home at the end of a long night. No need to rush. The conductor passes one last time. You sense more than see them pause at your door, checking with a glance that all is well. They don't knock now. They simply stand a moment, listening to the quiet, then move on. Somewhere down the carriage, a door closes with a careful click. After that, there is only the train, the sea, and your breathing. Outside, the coastline begins to curve inward. You are entering the long, shallow bay that cradles the harbor town. Even with your eyes closed, you feel the change in the way the train turns, the way the sound of waves wraps around it from a different angle. The air sneaking in through the cracked window is cooler, touched with the faint promise of dawn. You let your head slide down from the glass. Leaning into the corner where seat meets wall, you find a more comfortable angle when you could stay in for hours without noticing time. The fabric brushes your cheek. The faint smell of other sleepers lingers there, people who leaned against this same spot and let their eyes drift shut. Your breaths deepen into a calm rhythm. In. Over for distant rail joints. Out. Over for more. The sound of the wheels beneath you is like someone pouring a small stream of water over smooth stones, endlessly, gently, without hurry or end. Every sound that's not that sound fades to the edges of your awareness. Thought loses its sharp edges. Whatever you were worrying about before you stepped onto this train has been dropped somewhere back along the line, forgotten at a station bench or washed away by sea air. You could pick it up again tomorrow if you wanted to, but for now, it is out of reach, and that is a relief. In the distance, a low horn sounds again. Slower this time, almost sleepy. The train answers its own progress with that single note, then falls quiet again, settling more deeply into the tracks. The bay outside tightens its circle around you. The harbour town draws nearer, not as destination to hurry toward, but as a soft pillow the journey is easing you onto. Your eyelids grow heavier with every sway. Even when a patch of brighter lights brushes the window, perhaps a larger town or a factory near the water, you only half notice the brightness slipping through the crack of your lashes and then moving on. You are no longer tracking miles, only breaths. The sea and the rails sing together. Wave and wheel, hush and clack, wind and metal. The melodies cross and recross until you can't quite tell them apart. Instead, you hear only one long, low song, in which every note is saying the same simple thing: you can rest now. You can rest now. You can rest now. Your body believes it before your mind does. Muscles that have clung to tension all day finally let go, like hands releasing ropes. Your jaw unclenches without you having to ask it. Your shoulders slide down another fraction, pulled not by gravity but by permission. There is nothing for you to hold up right now. Somewhere, faintly, you smell bread. It may be real, the first baker in the harbour town lighting their oven in the dark, or it may be memory, woven into the tea and the stories you've been given tonight. Either way, it arrives as a promise. When you wake, warmth and nourishment will be waiting at the end of the rails. You no longer know exactly where you are. You don't need to. The train knows, the conductor knows, the tracks and the sea and the sleeping houses know. You are one small, breathing shape among many, carried along a line that has been worn smooth by decades of travel, by countless journeys from restless days to resting harbors. The compartment is very quiet now. Only the occasional tiny rattle from somewhere in the wall reminds you that you're in a moving machine. The lamp's light has grown even softer, almost indistinguishable from the dim grey of the approaching morning outside. Your reflection in the window has blurred into nothing at all. Your last waking thoughts come and go like distant stations. You feel them arrive, a fragment of worry here, a half-formed plan there, and you feel them roll past without stopping, without you stepping off the train to follow them. They are not your concern tonight. The only place you need to arrive at right now is sleep. Your breath matches the rails one more time. In. 4 beats of wheel and track. Out. 4 more. The train curves gently, its body adjusting around you like an arm tucking a blanket closer. Somewhere ahead, unseen, the harbour town waits. Quiet streets, patient boats, lamps dimmed for dawn. But you are already where you need to be. You are on the night train that knows you're tired. The sea is at your side. The conductor has kept their promise, and the rails remember the way. You can let go of the last thin thread of waking now. The harbour town will be there when you open your eyes. Until then, the train will keep moving, and you don't have to move at all.